Now then, so as you know, that the word I put at the beginning, felt tip pens, wasn't spelt properly. I just like the idea that felt ends in a T, tip it begins with a T and ends in a P, and pens starts in a P. So what I did was I took away the T at the end of felt and the P at the beginning of pens and put it all together as though it's one word, felt tip pens. But 3 tips on using felt tip pens in a way that you might not have used them before. 4 tips if you're just going to use them normally. 3 tips is stretching it a little bit. 2 of them are pretty much exactly the same, but never mind. So I'm going to start off with a yellow. And I think I'm going to add blue. You hold your pen straight up and then you touch the other colour on the top and you just hold it on. Now I'm not going to speed this up so you can see how long it actually takes, because you have to leave it on a little bit at a time. So you take it off, roll it round and put it back on again, and that should be enough. So I'm going to put that over there so we know I've done it. And what colour shall I do next? I'm going to go red. Put red on it next. So hold that there, get the tip of the red, and we put that straight onto there like that. Like I say, I'm not speeding this up so you can see how long it takes. Now I'm going to leave the red on a little bit longer than I did the blue, because yellow is a very pale colour and blue is quite a dark colour. So that means the yellow will take the blue a lot quicker than the blue will take the red. And that's all we're doing. We're transferring the pigment from the ink, or whatever you want to call what's inside a felt tip pen, from one felt tip pen to the tip of the next one. So that should be enough for that one. And you can always experiment doing different things. So what colour shall I do next? I'm going to go with pale blue. Let's see how the pale blue works. So now the pen, and we put the pale blue just on the top. So we'll leave it like that for a little while. We take it off and we just move it around a little bit. I didn't move that one round a bit, did I? So okay, that should do it. Okay, so can we see? There we go, look. Can we see, like, this is the yellow pen, and there doesn't look like there's any yellow left, does there? Okay, so let's get it on the piece of paper, wait till it gets into focus. I'll start at one end and work my way across. And the best thing to do is just keep going until it goes completely yellow. And that way, you know, you've got rid of all the colour from all the other pens. Okay, so this one I'm going to try with the pink pen. And there's only pink left. There we go. That looks pretty cool. Now if I'd have left the green on for a little bit longer, then that green would have been a lot more solid. So I'll go to this camera. So I think you can agree that this is probably one of the coolest things I've ever done on these films. This is absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Really like that. I mean that all the way across from blue to yellow. Brilliant. Okay, so the second tip. What I'm going to do is give a little bit of a swatch of each colour. And it's important to do this so you know how it works. So I've got a brush and I've got some water. So what I'm going to do is wet it. Get some water. So it's a wet brush but not drippling. Okay, so there's all the colours done. Right, so I'm going to bring this closer to the camera. It's still all wet though, but so as you can see, the green doesn't work as well as the red. Yellow is quite a pale pigment anyway, but I think it works quite well, did that. Purple's works well. And we'll wait till we get this in focus. There we go. Can you see the blue? You see all these little bits here? That's because it's really thin paper and the paper's actually breaking up because I've put too much water on it and I've scrubbed it to try and get more of the pigment out. So this blue doesn't work as well, whereas this blue works really well. That green's worked quite well, and that's the pale green has worked, I think, better than the dark green. That's the pink, that hasn't worked too good. Brown's not too good, and again, look, I've scrubbed it, so as you can see, and the orange isn't really that good. So, I don't know though, actually, now I've done that, the orange looks pretty cool. So you can see which colours work better. So I think the red and the blue worked quite well. So I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to get the blue. And then get some water and see what happens, look. So as you can see, I'll go to this camera, as you can see, they all mix together. So if you don't put as much water on, then you can control it a lot more. So I'll show you that right now. So I'll put... Okay. So there's a little blob of water just there. So what was another good one that worked? It was purple. So let's see what happens if I touch the purple into there. Whoa! You see that? Can I get a blob of water? Okay, you ready? Watch. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, so I've done this to death. Now look what's happened to my... let's wait till it goes in focus. Can you see what's happened to the felt tip pen? It took all the colour out of the end and it's gone white. Now, don't throw your pen away if it does that. Now what I'm doing, inside there's a big piece of felt that's got all the ink in. And that felt, that ink has got to have time to come back down and fill up your nib again. So we're getting there, it's getting there. I'm going to try this to get it going again. Okay, so I just cut it then and I've come back to it. And as you can tell, look, it's going, but it just took a little bit longer than I thought it would. So, can you see? Working fine. So don't overdo doing your blobs working into wet because it will ruin your pens eventually. A little bit of it is fine, but too much will ruin your pen. I'll go to this one. A little bit of it is fine, but doing it over and over again will ruin your pen. Okay, so how does that all help me? I will show you. We can draw a stalk. Okay. And I'm going to get... I'll use the dark one. So we use the dark one and we just go around the outside edge. This. So all I've done is gone around the outside edge. So I'm going to get the water. So it's just a nice way of colouring in. So I'll go back to the U. If you try and paint over it now, what happened before will happen. The colour that you try and go into it will all go into your drawing, into all the water that's on there. But if you wait for it to dry, then you'll be able to draw over the top of it. So Wayne, you're all shouting, Wayne, why did you leave the little, you did a black mark, but you've left it. What's that all about? Well, that's the third tip, which is, like I said, the third tip's pretty much exactly the same as the second tip, but black works really, 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 really well. So let me show you. So why did I leave that to be all on its own? What's the point in that? Right, I'm going to show you. Let's move that over there to dry. I'm just going to use the black pen and I'm going to draw that phone box there. So I've sped that up so you could see that, and then I'm going to do some painting over the top. So I'm just going to be using the brush now. The trick is to get the right amount of water on your brush. If you have too much, because we're using such a thin paper, card I suppose it is, you can't keep going over the top of it, because as you saw in the first little bit, if you scrub on it, the paper all comes away. But the black's really good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put all these tones in. So I'm going to start with the darkest bit, which is that bit inside. And the reason I'm starting with that is so I can get a little bit on the brush, so I can do the ground. Once we've got the ground wet a little bit, I can take some more from the dark bit and put it in there. There's literally hundreds of different types of felt tip pens. Every single one I have ever used, the black is always really, really good for using with this technique with a brush, and you should never ever leave your brush in the water like that, ever. Because the brush, I'll tell you why, because when you put your brush in there, the brush does this at the bottom, look, can you see? Can you see on this camera? It bends like that at the bottom. If you leave it in for ages, you get a permanent bend on your bristles, and you don't want that. You want it nice and straight like that. So sorry about that, I digressed. But every brand I have ever used, the black always works really, really, really well with this technique, which is why I think it deserves special mention rather than just all the colours. So I think it does deserve to have a tip all of its own, and the little black and white drawings you can do, and then they do look like paintings when you're finished with them. So if you've got one of those little sprayers, like a garden spray, it mists water out. I don't have one, but when you do your drawing, if you just put a ch and then just leave it, all the paint, all the ink from the pen all goes into the drawing, into the paper. So that might be worth a play. Okay, so I'm hoping you've enjoyed this on felt tip pens. Thanks for viewing, viewer.